"Are you coming in?"
she asked, watching Shia weave between the trees chasing a squirrel. "I didn't know if I was invited," he said, the lowness of his voice a potent spark. He placed his large paw on the wooden rail leading up the steps, squeezing it slightly so that the muscles clenched up his arm. He wore a short-sleeved tunic, apparently not bothered by the crisp air. He took a step up. She held out a hand to stop him.
"One condition."
His brow rose. "Speak it." The words were simple, but the underlying heat told Tessa that he'd been thinking about their nights together too. That under his plaid wrap, his hard verge was probably already seeking her.
"No talking," she said. "No asking me questions I can't answer. No words."
If she was going to leave all files, she wanted to be with Eagan once more. The pain of the thought made her push it away.
"No thinking, just feeling."
Heat flared in his gaze as he gave a slow nod, his nostrils widening as if he were a stallion sniffing after a mare in season. The man was full of seductive power, and she wanted to feel it. She lowered her hand and pressed inside the room. 'Twas cold without a fire in the hearth. She walked to it, crouching to place squares of dry peat and kindling on the grate. Did Eagan follow her inside? She didn't want to look, her ears strained to hear his footsteps. The gentle sound of the door shutting relaxed her enough to inhale, and she struck the flint in the wall balled in her palm, watching the spark flare. She blew a gentle stream of air into the smouldering fluff until it caught and lowered it slowly to the peat and twigs, setting it where it was likely to catch. There was no sound behind her, but the spell of desire swelled within the cottage. Tessa could feel Eagan's hungry gaze, and it added to the prickle of sensual awareness. She added more twigs and leaned down to blow on the growing flame, the heat of it sliding across her face. Once it was stable, licking up the 2 dry logs she'd added to the peat, Tessa stood. Before she could turn, she heard the step, and then 2 arms came around her from behind. She leaned back into the heat, inhaling the familiar scent that shot quicksilver through her blood. Lips touched the skin at the juncture of her neck and shoulder, light and warm. The sensation split off from it, shooting through her like an exploding star. Her lips parted as she leaned her head back, and Eagan kissed along her neck up to her ear. Instead of saying anything, a low growl resonated from him as if he were a beast. She shivered as lust flowed down through her, and he turned her in his arms. Tessa set her hand along his bristled cheek, meeting his gaze. They were locked there, together as if they were already joined as one. Her eyes shut as lips met lips in a frenzied kiss, untamed and raw, full of longing and wishes and... Farewell? Tessa reached behind Eagan's neck, holding him there so he couldn't leave, so she couldn't leave.